Hey everybody, Rich with Prep U down here in the bunker hanging out at the desk on a lovely 9-degree Saturday morning. Um, so the other day I wanted to tell you about a conversation I had with a bunch of guys from work. And they're all subscribers, they all follow the channel, we always talk about different stuff. They're total preppers, there's no doubt about it. So are most of their wives actually too. Some of the women at work are more preppers than their husbands, which is kind of interesting and great. I think it's awesome. But one of the guys came to me and says, you know what, Rich, one thing I always wondered about and never really thought about is if it really goes bad and we're really dependent on ourselves, supply chains gone, stuff like that, how long will wild game last? And how do you hunt for that game? And I said, that's a great great conversation to have. Great, would be a great video for everybody, I think, to think about that. Not so much as to tell you how to hunt, where to hunt, what to hunt for, but just get your mind going on a couple of things about wild game. Wild game's a great source of protein. Obviously, I think when we talk about the grand scheme of wild game, my mind always goes to, moose and bear and pheasant, deer, stuff like that. I never really, when I think of wild game, I don't think of fish. But I think fish is going to be your main source, depending on where you're at. Obviously, you're in the middle of the desert, there's going to be no fish. Well, there might not be anything but scorpions to eat out in the desert. But at least you'll be away from people, and you'll probably be able to see people coming from miles away, which is also a consideration to think about. So I said, that'd be a good topic for a video. I go, hey, we've got a half hour here. It's lunchtime. Let's have a conversation. So we just kind of talked about it, and a couple of guys were hunters, or are hunters, I should say. Most of the women were not. I think there was one girl that she hunts with her husband. They go out west. They always try to get an elk every year, which is kind of cool. And she said, don't get me wrong, I don't do the field dressing and I don't do the butchering. I guess that's what you would say. But she says, I just love going. She goes, I got one last year. My husband did not. And then they take it to a processor. So sidebar to how long will the game last is, do you know how to process your kill? Obviously, all of us don't know how to do that. I've field dressed a lot of deer, never, bear or elk or moose or anything like that. I don't really know how to butcher it. I have books on it. I have videos. I have stuff like that. I have the equipment. That's another thing. You want to make sure that you have the equipment to be able to butcher your own. And then some source or some way of preserving that meat. It's also a thing to think about. So you don't want to take something huge, and then not have a way to store that meat, because it's obviously just a waste unless there's a bunch of you. And then you can prepare it. So there's another thing to look at when you're prepping for something like this. Find out ways to preserve your meat and what you need, the supplies and all that kind of stuff to preserve your meat. But going back to the original question is, how long will the wild game last? Obviously, it depends on where you live. There's places in Michigan that I used to hunt that the deer are already kind of sparse, and that's just because of people moving into the area, the increase in hunting, stuff like that. But that's something you have to think about. And what do you like? I mean, in the cities, there's plenty of squirrels. If you like raccoon, there's plenty of raccoon, but there's not too much deer. There's not too much bear or elk in the city. So obviously, you're going to have to go out somewhere to harvest your meat. Now, granted, I mean, a lot of you guys are going, and gals are going, oh, come on, Rich, really, seriously, is it going to get that bad? I don't know. What if you just want to leave? What if you've had it with the rat race? What if you've done your 30 years on Wall Street, or you've taught for 40 years, which is probably like, that's a tough job. There's no job teaching, no doubt. There's a teaching is a tough job, especially depending on what age group. Anywhere from seventh through sophomore is very challenging. But maybe you're just done. Maybe you just want to go. So this is something you need to think about: where you're going to go, what kind of games in the area, for two reasons: to eat and to protect your own. If you got dogs and stuff like that, worry about bears, and if you're going to have out there, going to have your own chickens, that's another thing. But I know I'm getting kind of away, but I'm trying to, make a rounded picture of how long will wild game last. It really depends on where you go and what kind of game you're hunting for, and how many other people are in that area. How many people do you know of that have said to you, well, you know what? If shit hits the fan, I'm going to Wyoming. I'm going to Montana. I'm going to South Dakota. I'm going to North Dakota. Well, if everybody that said that did that, it's not going to be any different than the suburbs of Chicago or, the suburbs of Atlanta. There's just going to be way too many people out there, and then you'll be trying to protect your own. And that's why, if you remember the video, it was quite a while ago, probably over a year ago, I had the prepping pods, where if shit really hits the fan, you want to have your group of like-minded people that all have different job skills. That's why I kind of called it a pod, like after the orcas. You're a group, everybody has their own set of skills. Nothing wrong with doubling up on some skills, especially medical skills. But that's where if shit really hits the fan and you're truly going to get out and get away from people, that's what you want to think about, is having like-minded people. And it's just like my people at the different jobs that I work with. We are like-minded. We've talked about, going certain places together because we all have different skill sets, and it works out really well. So you really have to think about where you're going to go and what you can take with you. I know I've talked about a lot of stuff that you're going to have to add additionally to your bug out gear or your leave gear, or I'm just done gear. I'm just done with the city. I'm done with, this craziness, and I'm going to go out, life of my own. And even if that's just, the backwoods of Tennessee, plenty of game there, but sidebar to that, when you leave, don't forget, you're a moved-in tourist. You are somebody from the outside. They aren't going to trust you in the beginning. They're not, it's going to take a while to warm up to some of these people. We had that in Michigan, when I moved into Michigan. People were like, oh, you're just a moved-in tourist. How long are you going to be around? I was there for quite a while. And got to be really good friends with a lot of the people and learn the trades, learn where to hunt, where to fish, and all that kind of stuff. So that was good. But the game, how long will it last? As long as you're in an area where there's not a lot of people and they're conscious of not over-harvesting, I think you'll be fine. I think overall there's plenty to go around. The fish is obviously a very important source. You're also going to have to, plant your own stuff. Maybe you'll put stuff out that will bring the game in. The consensus of most of the people that we talked about that day is it's going to be gone. It's just going to disappear. It's going to be over-harvested. Then you'll have to move, kind of be like nomadic and stuff like that, or go further out to get your game and stuff like that. And one of the guys goes, how many deer have you seen on The Walking Dead? 1. How many horses have you seen? 2. The entire time. He says, you don't see squirrels, you don't see elk, you don't see moose, you don't see bear. It's gone. The zombies ate them all. I said, yeah, but I mean, that's truly the ultimate scenario. But animals are hard to work with in Hollywood. That's what they always tell you. So maybe that's why they didn't have, a lot of deer and horses and elk and bear and stuff like that in Walking Dead episodes. But I guess that's a good reference you can use, as far as how long will the game last. The other part of this is how to hunt quietly. My favorite is still bow and arrow. However you want to do it, recurve. Compound or whatever is really good. Cross. I know a lot of people that are bow hunters like I was, have got crossbows, which is really nice. And obviously, if we go back to the Walking Dead reference, there was, the crossbow. But that is obviously the quietest way to hunt. Another way to do it is, and I really suggest that everybody have a 22 rifle, scoped if you can, always nice. But they have subsonic rounds for 22s, and if you put it in a rifle, it's like a pellet gun. Pellet gun's another way to hunt. That's also a good way to hunt. There are, what do you call them? Wrist rockets. Everybody remember the little wrist rockets that went around your wrist and you held onto it and you pulled it back and you could put like a little ball bearing in it. That's another great way to hunt. But you need to get good at that. So you need to think about how you're going to hunt, how you're going to secure your game. If you're into traps and snares, that's great. I think that's another great way to do it, because you can set it and forget it. You don't have to be out in the weather. You don't have to give away your position. You're not out there all the time. If you don't know about traps and snares, read up on traps and snares and get your equipment. It's really, I find, talking to the people in Michigan that would trap, that's a totally different scenario. Snaring wasn't so hard. It was just learning how to set up and don't leave a scent. Same thing with trapping, I guess. So I'm told. Never trapped, never snared, so I don't know. So these are the little things you got to think about. How long will game last? I don't know. Depends on where you're at. But you need to think about how you're going to harvest it, how you're going to dress it, how you're going to then, by dressing, I mean by field dressing, and then what are you going to do with the meat? Are you going to do anything with the skins? And then how are you going to preserve it? What ways do you have, certain ways that you can do it? Are you on the run? If you're on the run, you're just eating to keep going. If you're going out to your bug out location, hopefully you have solar generators, other generators, or whatever, quiet ones. Solar would be the best. And you can secure them in, small freezers or such and such. So it was a fun little discussion. I'm not telling you how to do anything. I'm just, getting get that light bulb to turn on and thinking about sources of food if you are out and about. So nice thing is you can also get 22 rifles, and for the life of me I cannot remember the manufacturer right now, but they just kind of fold in half. They're great for your backpack, and then you add the subsonic rounds, and on the run you can secure food along the way. So that's about it for this video about wild game and securing it and hunting quietly. So what we try to do here at Prep U is just get your mind to start thinking a certain way, so you have the ability to do things that hopefully you never have to do. It's just kind of like insurance or the fire department. It's a bad day when the fire department shows up at your house, whether it's EMS or fire. So that's it. Subscribers, thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. We are over 1,500 subscribers, which I think is pretty good. It's great. Now, do I want to stop there? No. So tell your family and your friends and your kids and to sign up for our videos on Prep U and enjoy our videos. We got a bunch more coming out here soon, and hopefully you enjoyed this one, you'll enjoy others, and get people to subscribe. If you got any comments on this video, please comment. We really like it, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it. Did I miss something? Let me know, and we'll do a follow-up video. That's always good. So don't forget, we have lots of videos on playlists for shooters, for preppers, for all kinds of stuff along that line. And don't forget, our website is coming very soon. That's it. All right, thanks a lot. As always, don't forget, always be aware of your surroundings. Always have enough food for bugging out, 72 hours at least, and shelter in place, which you'll probably do more than bug out, at least 3 months per person, plus water. And prep like your life depends on it, because it really does. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you next time.